Okay, look, let's move on to another issue that has been making the headlines, and I know that the Minister concerned, Nicole Mckee, appeared with what's her name, Leah Panapa, our drive host, earlier this week. But Chris Cahill, who refuses to be interviewed by me because he's got his knickers in a twist. He'll appear with other people on the platform, but he's just got a little personal antsy on me. Chris Cahill from the Police Association came out and launched, I thought, quite a remarkably personal attack on Nicole Mckee at Cabinet Minister over the weekend. And he basically said Christchurch might not have happened had it not been for Nicole Mckee being a very effective firearms lobbyist. Well, actually, it wouldn't have happened, Chris, if your members had enforced the bloody law correctly and not given Brenton Tarrant a bloody firearms licence. But you weren't going to mention that, were you? But it's really stirred up, I don't know, a bit of a hornet's nest. And I think it was a very childish and naive attack by Chris Cahill and the Police Association. He says that firearms laws are all about protecting police. I'd say they're all about protecting all of us. And what do the current firearms lobbyists make of the position of the Police Association? Well, we're joined now by Hugh Devereux-Mack. He is a spokesperson or spokesman for the Coalition of Licensed Firearm Owners. Hugh, welcome to the platform. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Sean. Thank you for welcoming me. How
many members you got? How big's your organisation?
So our organisation is made up of the 20 primary firearms organisations around the country. One of those, for example, has 12,000 members, and that's the New Zealand Deerstalkers Association.
All right.
It's a little hard to measure how many we have in total, but there are around 243,000 licensed firearms owners that we speak on behalf of.
All right. So you're a pretty big organisation, and you cover a broad sweep of people who use firearms. You're not just people who have got semi-automatics and play war games, right?
Absolutely. So we cover everyone from actually the Airsoft group has now joined us to historical arms collectors who use muskets and reenactments as part of the Gallipoli celebrations, things like that. Hunters, lawyers, doctors, just regular New Zealanders, farmers down the road who use firearms as part of their everyday jobs, as well as to hunt and put food on the table for their families.
Yeah. And Hugh, you are a professional lobbyist?
Unlike Chris Cahill, neither myself nor Nicole receive any financial compensation for doing our lobbying or our spokespersoning. We do this only because we care about the community. And personally, I stepped up following the Christchurch terror attack because I was sick of how police and other groups were treating licensed firearms owners when it was the police who, as you rightly said, didn't follow the laws of the day and gave a terrorist a firearms license wrongly.
Though we've never quite addressed that issue, have we? Because
we never really have.
It was not the narrative that the government of the day wanted to push.
And the fun thing that was also missed was actually Nicole Mckee, when she was still a spokesperson, argued against budget cuts to the police unit, which affected licensing. So she said that would make the licensing system weaker and we shouldn't do it. They went ahead and did it anyway. So when people say, oh, she's only on the side of firearms laws, she's been on the side of firearms laws and keeping people safe long before she entered Parliament, and she's been consistent in that ever since.
Yeah. Hugh, you appreciate in lobbying, you have people who have an opposite or opposing point of view to you. And in a functional democracy, we have all sorts of processes. We supposedly have an open and unbiased media where you can air those differences. We have select committees where you can have the policy argument, where people can battle with words and one view will prevail over the other. Do you think that has hitherto worked well for what I'll broadly call, your organisation, the gun lobby?
Yeah, so for firearms advocacy groups, we welcome the diverse range of views at the debating table. So one thing that Cahill hasn't mentioned is he never had these complaints about being excluded under the previous government, although the same groups that are now being consulted, both the Ministry Arms Advisory Groups, MAG, and FCAS, which is the Firearms Advisory Group for the Minister, they were set up under Labour. those same groups are continuing now. Cahill wasn't part of those either, but for some reason, he's only complaining now, and perhaps that's because under the previous government, he knew that the concerns of licensed firearms owners were never really going to be taken seriously, and that's why we were given only 3 days for a consultation that affected so many of us, in fact, all of us, after the worst terrorist attack New Zealand had ever seen, and we didn't even wait for the Royal Commission report.
Well, they rushed their gun legislation, and they did it because they could, because we were all in shock.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Do you
so,
think Chris Cahill is? Do you
table.
think Chris Cahill is politically biased?
Oh, absolutely. Like, every lobbyist has a bent to represent their members well, but in this case, I think Cahill has actually done a disservice to his members because. So
he's a Labor. Are you saying he's a Labor lovey?
I'm saying that he's on the behalf of his members. He has a bent that will push him towards being anti-gun because he wants to be represented at the table. But his public temper tantrums in the media and his continual misrepresentation of the truth is why he's probably not being invited back to the table. Although police, as an actual body, given that Cahill isn't the commissioner, the actual police are at the table advising ministers on these law changes, and we welcome those discussions, and we're glad that they're there.
Yeah. Well, Hugh, I have to say, the man to me has got some issues. I did a very robust interview with him, a year and a half ago, Ben, and he was so upset that I challenged what he was saying that he's never appeared with me for an interview since. And basically he said, I won't go on with that guy because I had the temerity to question what he was saying. So he's obviously got some personality issue that's pretty deep.
Look, I can't speak to his personality issues because I likewise have never had the opportunity to have a conversation with him either in person or live on the media, although I'd love to. But we do see this often with other sort of less progressive or anti-firearms groups. We would love to sit down at the table. I mean, if you wanted to host it on your show, I'd happily sit down with Gun Control New Zealand, the new group keeping our communities safe, and just talk these things through, because I agree with you that open debate and discussion of ideas is how we move democracy forward in a way that's transparent and makes everyone comfortable.
All right.